All right, well, we're experiencing technical difficulties here at the moment. Last week, we had a presentation about change. And the whole theme of that change was, are you changing for the better, or are you changing to make yourself better? So here today, we're going to have a little dual devotional here for tonight. Whenever Alexander finds a microphone to come talk to, we're going to split this workload here in half. We're going to split this workload here in half. So, last time I was up here, I asked y'all, there's one right there, if you didn't know. Last time I was up here, I asked y'all, did y'all make a goal for yourself? The three aspects of it, as for the target sign, did you make one for yourself, and are you aspiring towards succeeding in those? Again, I don't expect for y'all to come up here and say, yes, I was going to be preaching within the next week of that, by no means, but at least are you striving towards that goal?
Yeah.
All right. You got an icebreaker for the crowd, or?
No,
No,
I don't. No.
Cool with that. All right. So obviously, this is a big step from the little man here, and we'll both go by the same name of Maurice. So that way, if there's blame for anybody, you can say Maurice did it wrong, and we don't know which one you're talking about. You have the same thing. Okay, buddy. That's all right. Oh, by the way. You're good. Okay. So the first verse characters or first people in the Bible we're going to look at is going to come from Daniel 3. And it's going to be Daniel 3, 10 through 12, what we have here that we're going to take a look at. And Rob, before we read these names, I know they have different names, and I didn't remember what they were. So we'll be with you later and confirm what those names actually are. Now, for the people in the back row, because I can't say these names as well, Xander's going to fill in and say the three names of people we're going to talk about here in a moment. So who are we going to talk about here, Xander?
Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego.
Okay. So what's the special, or what's the relevance of possibly bringing them up? What was going on with Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego?
So everybody was worshiping the idol that King Nebuchadnezzar told them to worship, but those three didn't.
Okay. So they're around a situation and in a situation for where, hey, I'm not going to do what this king tells me to do because I only have one Lord and Savior, and that's the one in heaven. But I'm not going to bring attention to myself when that comes up. But if it does happen, then I'm going to stand up for what is right. So what happened in that?
So King Nebuchadnezzar saw them, and they reported, and they were going to throw them in the furnace.
But did King Nebuchadnezzar not give them an opportunity to compel or to comply with his orders? He did. And what did they do?
They denied it.
They denied it. So what happened next? They were supposed to be put into this furnace. They're being pushed this direction. And what are they saying to God? God will guide me. God will take care of me. God will lead me where I need to go. There was something about this furnace that as they were being led to this furnace that the two guards, or the guards that were sending them up to it, actually burnt alive because the flame was so hot. But once they were inside of this furnace, what did King Nebuchadnezzar see?
There was another person in there with him.
Really? God's grace, God's glory, God's honor. They knew it was easy for where no one knew that they weren't obeying King Nebuchadnezzar. But then when he was brought forth in front of them, and literally this trumpet sound goes, and they're supposed to turn around and worship, that's a little bit out of their comfort zone. But then it came to it for where he says, you know what, since you don't want to listen to me, I'll put you inside this furnace. Now, I'm sure we go to Howard and ask him the dimensions of what this furnace was, whatever the case may be. But I'm sure it's not something that's small to walk into. It has to be very, very intimidating to walk into that. And easily, these three guys could turn around and say, you know what, forget it. We'll turn around and we'll worship you. But no, they worship God, even knowing that it would have cost them their death. But while they're in that furnace, there was a fourth. And that was God's grace, God's glory, his comfort for them. But the best part about that all, of this whole story is here, is when they walked out. You remember what happened, what they smelled like when they walked out?
It didn't smell like anything.
Smell like anything. So not did only God provide for them physically and emotionally, but he even took care of the clothing on their body. So how often do we go through life worried about the personal comforts that we have, And God gives us enough to provide for ourselves. But yet, sometimes it's like, but that's just not what I wanted. That's not what I needed. And you're afraid to go out and go forth with that. Another person we're going to look at today is going to be Abram and Abraham. So that's going to be Genesis 6. Can we for that? Did we get that one fixed?
Yeah, Genesis 12, verse 6.
Okay, Genesis 12, verse 6. I want to back up just a little bit for that. For those that don't know, I highly encourage you to read the story of that, because Abram, before he was Abraham, was Abram. But then he made a change in his life, and God decided to change his name to Abraham. And that's when he took on the covenant of God and had to go on and make change. Do you recall what that promise was with Abraham? The saying?
Oh, he would have descendants as many as the grain of the sand and the stars.
So could you imagine, God will come to you and say, you know what, Rob Moore, your family line is going to be so many for where you can't even count the number of grains of the sand. And what you do is going to influence everything within this world. It's a big change. It's a big change I have to take up. So what is the biggest change of all of that there? You got to make sure that whomever is going to be your descendant, that you're raising them in truth and righteousness. And let them be encouraged as they go. What do we got for this particular verse here?
So Abraham went to just as the Lord had told him. Lot went with him. Abraham was 75 years old, and when he left, he took his wife Sarai with him and nephew. They took all their people and possessions they had acquired, and they went out for the land of Canaan, and they arrived there.
Okay. So not only did he have to change his name, he was put that great promise upon him. He didn't relocate to a new place. All these things are big things that we have to go with on a daily basis. But if we don't have the faith of Christ, how far can we go? If we don't at least believe that he's going to send us and take care of us when we go there. And our final person that we're going to look at here tonight is going to be David. What are we looking at?
1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 32.
And what do we have for that?
David said to Saul, "Don't let anyone who loses hope because of that Philistine go out and fight him." Saul replied, "You aren't able to go out there and fight the Philistine. You are too young. He has been a warrior ever since he was a boy." And in verse 36 it says, "In fact, I've killed both a lion and a bear. I'll do the same to this Philistine. He isn't even circumcised. He has dared the enemies of the living God to fight him. The Lord saved me from the paw of the lion. He saved me from the paw of the bear. He'll save me from the powerful hand of the Philistine too." Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord may meet with you."
Okay. So Miss Jerry and I, we were cutting up in the back earlier today. She has a special chair, which I'm jealous of that she gets to sit in and I don't. I said, "Miss Jerry, let me ask you a question." I said, "What about when Josh was up here preaching? And we take up there and we slide your way up to the front, tap the table and slide all the way back." I said, "You think anybody would notice, anybody would see?" And she's like, "I don't think so, let's go." So, by all means, I was too afraid to go and do that because I wasn't getting in trouble by anybody here by doing that. But to see her take and say, "Yeah, let's go do that." Think about the same aspect here. When he's getting ready to face the Goliath. He sees it, he knows what's going to happen, he has to be the one to go. But he has the belief that God's going to take care of him, no matter what happens. We have to have that same belief as well too, guys. That in order to do what God's will is, we have to at least take that first step. There's even examples in the Bible for where God's going to make change in their lives, and there's people that refuse to take the first step, but he makes them take the first step no matter what. Jonah and the great fish. Does that sound familiar from somewhere? He thought he could run, he could flee, because he didn't want to take that first step and trust God. And what happened? And if you're not familiar with that, I highly encourage you to go read that. But even sometimes we go through life, and we feel like we're taking that first step and we're accomplishing something, but actually we're somewhat defeating ourselves. And the person I think about that is Peter. I love Peter. I think he was a great example. But then when it came time for him to do what he needed to do, he didn't have that confidence to go with Christ and to acknowledge him, but yet deny him 3 times before the rooster crowed. But then also see the opportunity for change as well too. Sometimes we're blindsided about it all. We see the road to Damascus. We see Saul on his way. What happens? He's blinded before he's converted into Paul. because he allowed God to work in his life. So there's many, many other examples here within the Bible that we can take a look at for that change, and change for where it's making us better so we can glorify the Lord. And I highly encourage us, just like I said last week, this is a big deal for our young guys to come up here and to do this. It's a big deal for them to sit up here and assist on the side of the table. It's a big deal for them to do that. But in order to make that change within their lives, we have to be the ones to guide and encourage them. Because if we're not stepping up to the plate to show them that it can be done, who else is? What other influences are they getting from that if they're not getting it here from us? So as we begin to go to our closing song, I again put that challenge out there. What are you doing in regards to your comfort? Are you doing enough to make yourself comfortable, or are you doing enough to make yourself comfortable and edify the Lord at the same time? As we stand and sing our song of invitation.
Number 231.